Can you really buy a house for £1? So my name's Simon Zutshi. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can buy a property for very little of your own money. You might have seen the headlines. There have been certain times where certain parts of the country, you could actually buy a house for £1. For example, up in Liverpool, the local council decided to sell lots of houses at £1 each. But that's amazing. Well, actually, I'm not sure it's such a good deal because the houses were in areas that were really run down. No one wanted to live there. And actually, you need to spend tens of thousands of pounds to get them into a rentable state. And even once you've done that, the house might still be only worth what you spent on it. So can you buy a house for £1? Well, in theory, yes, you can. Doesn't happen very often. And certainly in Europe, they've had buy a property for €1, same kind of thing. But there are actually a number of ways that you can buy properties for very little of your own money. Let me give you a quick rundown on some of my popular no money down investing strategies. The first one is what we call a purchase lease option. This is where you find someone who doesn't want their property. They want to get rid of it. And what we do, we take it on. We effectively rent it from them for a period of time, and then we buy the property. And we enter into a contract with them, and we often pay an upfront option fee, which might be just £1. So yes, you can absolutely control a property for £1. And you've got legal costs as well. But when you actually come to buy the property, you might agree to buy the property for 200,000 or 500, whatever it is, but you get to control the property for £1, which means you get cash flow and potential equity growth over the time period on a property that you haven't had to put a big deposit into and you haven't had to get a mortgage. This is an amazing strategy that anyone can use, whether you're new to property or already an experienced investor. It's definitely something you want to learn about. And these options are very powerful tools that can be used in conjunction with any other property strategy. If you're doing single let property, if you're doing HMOs, service accommodation, commercial to residential conversion, or even just commercial property, you can potentially use an option if circumstances are correct for the seller, and obviously it works for you as well. So that's the first way of buying a property for very little money. The second way is, again, a slightly more advanced strategy called vendor finance. And the name gives it away, really. This is where the owner of the property wants to get rid of a property. They want to get it out of their name. They don't want to do an option, because in an option it still says their name. They want to get it out of their name. They want no responsibility. And they want to maximize the revenue they can from the sale of the property, which, after all, most people do when they're selling a property. But, and here's the very important thing, they don't need the money from the sale now. They're just going to stick it in the bank and probably not get a very good return on that. So we can go to someone, they want to sell their property, we can actually offer them the full market price. We don't have to buy at a discount, the full price, as long as it stacks up as a deal. And we can say to them, not only can we give you the full price, we can get the deal done really quickly. We can get it done in 3 or 4 weeks instead of 3 or 4 months if we're buying it in a conventional way, getting a mortgage. How can we do that? Well, the way we do it is the owner becomes the bank. Instead of getting a mortgage and paying interest to the bank, you get a mortgage with the owner. And so the owner, basically, they get a first charge security on the property, just like a bank would. You pay them interest each month, just like a bank would. And you have an agreement in place, a loan agreement, so they know they're going to get their money. So this can work really well for the owner for a couple of reasons. First of all, instead of having to sell at a discount, they're getting the full market price. Instead of having to wait 3 or 4 months to get it sold, they can get it done in 3 or 4 weeks, all done through solicitors. And then also, they're going to continue to get an income from that property long after they've sold it. If they sold it, typically you get no income afterwards because whoever owns it, they rent out, they're getting the income. But in this case, they can still make money from property once they've sold it. And to get the money back to the owner, eventually you do a refinance of the property and take the money out and pay it back to us. That's how you pay them back eventually. Or you could use money from one of the other property deals to pay the owner back. So that's the second method, which is vendor finance. Another method I want to share with you is called a joint venture with the owner. So maybe someone's got a property, and I was actually speaking to someone the other day. He's in a bit of difficulty. Unfortunately, he lost his business during COVID. He got into lots of debt because of that. He had to sell all his property. He's got one property left that he owns with a cousin, and it's in London. And it's a large bungalow that he could convert into a large 12-bed HMO. The problem is he has no money, he's still paying his debts, he's got bad credit, he cannot borrow at all. He was thinking about just selling the property. And when he spoke to me, I said, look, you could do that, but maybe you could joint venture with someone else. You could joint venture with someone else who could bring the money in. And I'm actually talking to him about doing a deal. So he's got the property, he's got mortgages on it. So we could joint venture where I come in, we put the property into a company, we go and borrow from a bridging company who supports development finance. They would want to take a first charge on the property, so they'd clear off the existing mortgages and then provide all the money to do the work. So in this scenario, I'm joint venturing with the owner, they're putting the property in, I'm bringing the money, but it's not my money. I'm going to a bridging company who's going to put the money in, secured on the property. We will develop the property and then we'll eventually sell it. The bridging company will get their money back and the owner and I will share some of the profit. So I'm not putting any money in at all. It's a no money down deal, but I'm using my experience and my knowledge to help someone who he cannot see a way out of his problem. He doesn't have the knowledge or the ability to borrow finance. That's what I'm bringing to the table. He is extremely excited about this potential deal because he thought he didn't have any solutions. And one of the important points you need to understand when we're doing these no money down deals is because we've been a bit creative and we found a great solution. We've got someone who wants to get rid of a property and we come up with a great solution to help those people. So we talked about options, we talked about vendor finance, we talked about JVing with the owner, and the obvious one is just using other people's money. We can do loans and we can do joint ventures with people who've got money. They maybe don't have the knowledge, the time, the inclination to do deals themselves, and we know how to find those people. By the way, going to property networking events and going to property training events is a really good place to find them because people with money, they know they should educate themselves. They don't want to make the expensive mistakes they see other people make, so they go and get training. But when they realize actually there's a bit of time and effort, they might much prefer someone like you to do the work, to find the deals, and you can work together for mutual benefit. So you need to stop thinking that you need money to invest in property. If you have money, of course, use your money first. You can have a lot more choice and freedom what you do, but just recognize at some point, all property investors will run out of their own cash. So it's a really good idea to start thinking about these creative solutions. And these creative solutions do not work all of the time. There are different circumstances where different solutions work. So really you want to get a really good overview of all the strategies so you can use the appropriate tool at the appropriate time. Now I am actually doing some online training all about how you can grow your property portfolio using other people's money. If you click on the link in the description, you can come and register for that completely free training, and it's going to open your mind, make you think on a much bigger scale, and you're going to realize that a lack of money is not a lack of resource, it's just a lack of resourcefulness, because there are plenty of people out there with money and they're happy to work with people like you as long as you're finding really good, profitable deals. Now, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I encourage you to hit the like button if you liked it. That helps the algorithms. Got any questions about no money down deals or buying a property for £1? Put them in the comments below. I'll come and answer as many as I can. And make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so that anytime we come up with a new video, you're notified straight away, because a lot of my videos are very timely. We have strategies that only work at a certain period of time. You don't want to be watching them 6 months later. You want to watch them as they come out. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon. I look forward to sharing some great strategies in my next video. Until next time, invest with knowledge, invest with skill. Click on the link below to come and join me on the online training all about how you use other people's money to grow your portfolio.